with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. And just like that, folks, it's time for the show. Wow. I can remember what buttons to push. I swear to God, it boggles my imagination. I've been doing this so long, and you'd think I'd have this all worked out to a tight science by now, but nope. I don't, but I hope you guys are forgiving and understanding all the same. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to tonight's Night Terrors. It's our hour-long format of paranormal stuff, but we usually stick to one topic throughout the course of the night. But I just want you to know that if you want to call in, you can do so because I have a phone line available. And the phone line available for call-ins to the Paranormal Portal live show is by dialing the number 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. That's how you get in touch with me. And I got a minion on the floor. He's crawling around stealthily, blocking my fan. But he's just a little charmer. But yeah, the phone calls are always welcome. If you got something you want to share, paranormally speaking, I'd love to hear from you. So feel free to call in. And let me know what's going on or what you've experienced or what your thoughts are on what I'm talking about. Either way, anytime you wanna be a part of the shows, it's always welcome, and welcome to everybody that's coming in. Thank you all for being here. Tonight we're going to talk about strange phenomena, and that's generally it can be a lot of different phenomena. Just sometimes it can be psychic phenomena, sometimes it can be ghostly phenomena, sometimes it can be UFO-y phenomena. So it's kind of more of a grab bag type of show. But we're going to go through the article that we've been going through on Factinate with these aggregated accounts from Reddit that people submitted to the threads over there. So hopefully there'll be some good ones on the roster. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, after a long hiatus, we're bringing back comments from the cheap seats. So, and then of course the Trail Cam Terrors will be coming up after that. And so these are all parts of the show, but the comments from the cheap seats and the Trail Cam Terrors will be at the tail end of the show. So if you can make it through the 45 minutes of the show and then into the cheap seats and then to the Trail Cam Terrors, and the ride will be about complete. So let's get to it and find out what the hell's going on here on the portal. What am I doing? Who am I? What's my motivation? It's you are my motivation. Just remember that. All right, let's get started here. I hope you're all ready because it's time for bed. All right, folks, we're underway now. This is it. It's officially underway. And so I'm going to just dig right into this right off the bat here. We've been visiting an article on Factinate, and it's a hell of a long article. It's incredibly huge. The gentleman that did it, his name is Stephen Y., and I'll put it on screen so you can see it. But this is from Factinate.com, and it's unsettling experiences that sent a chill down our spine. And it's a hell of an article. I've really enjoyed this, and I can't believe how many stories were aggregated for this compilation. But it's really pretty cool. So we are on 76, at least I believe we do. Yeah, that's where it stopped. Excuse me while I clear my throat. I need it clear because I'm going to be reading for the rest of this episode. So, as is the case, a gargly throat kind of sucks. All right. It's number 76. When I was a toddler, probably about 3, my mom, siblings, and I had just gotten home from a trip to the store. Well, she was busy with my younger brother, so she didn't notice when I waddled upstairs to my room. A few minutes passed, and I came downstairs and stood in the kitchen doorway with a weird expression on my face. She asked me what was up, and I said, "The man upstairs told me to come back down." My dad was at work, and there was no one else staying with us. My mom was freaked out, and we immediately left to stay at the family friend's house until my dad could come home to scope out the house. Nothing was missing. No signs of entry. Nothing. We still don't know what I saw. That's wild. That's a very intelligent haunt, though, if that is indeed an apparition. And you hope it is, because and in this case, this is one of those situations where you hope it's a ghost, because the alternative is if somebody's in your house, physically in your house, and they don't belong there, chances are they're up to some really diabolical crap, and that's not good, obviously. So this is one of those situations where it's a good thing it's a haunting and wasn't somebody intent on causing harm or any other problems for the family. So thank God it was just a ghost. And I realize, but literally, if you have to weigh, which one do you want? Some twisted home intruder or just an apparition? I'm going for the apparition, because generally they're just around. Now, it's an interesting situation, though, because if it is indeed an apparition that this little boy saw, then, or girl, I don't know, then it's intelligent. It's like, kid, go on, you're bugging me. Go downstairs, see your mom. You can just hear it. Some old codger that just wants to be left alone. I'm just sitting here thinking about my life. Go on. I'm busy moping. So, I don't know. But anyway, very wild. And that was written by Suicidal Hornbill. I didn't know hornbills were suicidal. All right, number 77 is a guardian angel. This one sounds cool. I grew up in a very old family home way out in the country, and I was quite a responsible child. And my parents would allow me to stay home from a very young age. They always figured I was safe enough with our big dogs, and we were off the main road in behind a gate. Well, one Saturday afternoon when I was about 9, they ran to town to do some errands and left me alone. I remember it was summer, so I was out in the yard reading a book with my dogs, Roscoe and Lady Sarah, on the lawn next to me, and all of a sudden, the dogs both quietly stood up and moved in front of me with their hackles up. The two of them were very protective and would never allow someone they didn't know to come close to me. A minute later, a man came walking up our driveway. He was quite polite and doffed his hat and asked if the lady of the house was home. I explained that they had run to town but would be home soon. He was dressed in clean but dated clothing, and he had a sharp beard and a small gold pocket watch that he fiddled with as he talked. He was polite and well-spoken, and never once did I feel frightened. That was a tad strange because I was a shy, untrusting child who didn't cotton to strangers. I don't recognize that figure of speech. Didn't cotton to strangers. Must be a regional thing. All this time, my dogs had been standing in front of me, but not growling. They were just watchful. He looked down at them and said their names, except he called our girl Sarah. Now, this is where it started getting really weird. We only ever called her by her first name, Lady. As soon as he said their names, they cocked their heads, sniffed him over, then whined and wagged their tails before lying back down. Well, I figured he was friends with my folks and didn't think much of it. My mother had raised me to be very polite, so I asked him if I could offer any refreshments. He said he'd be glad of some water, and he would bide out on the porch for a bit. Yeah, there's a lot of kind of different language for me. So I bustled into the house and made up lemonade and put some lace cookies on one of Mom's pretty rose plates with a cloth napkin. He didn't talk much, but just sat back and rocked for a bit, smoked his pipe, then thanked me for the refreshments and said he must be on his way. He started across the yard, and my dogs walked on either side of him to the driveway, as calm as you please. He knelt down and gave each one a pet, and then lifted a hand in farewell, and then faded off into the dusk. I went in and lay down for a bit, and when I woke up, my folks were home. I forgot to mention any of this to my mom until we were headed to church the next day, but she didn't think much of it. Now, every Sunday, our dogs would ride with us to the church and wait in the back of the truck. Afterwards, we would all go down and have a picnic at the lake while my dad did some fishing. And my mom read in the shade. The dogs and I would wait in the shallows and hunt for lizards, and this time Roscoe wouldn't come when we called. He just sat on the porch and whined. When we got home that afternoon, the sheriff was waiting there, and he had a big man in cuffs. The man had several deep bites on his hand and leg. Roscoe was shut up in the garage and angry, with a pretty deep gash on his side, some broken teeth, and a knot on his head. The sheriff told us someone had happened to see this man turn into our drive and called it in. It turned out that this man had been robbing rural houses in the area, and he was caught with pillowcases full of my mom's silver. When the sheriff questioned him, the man said he had snuck up the drive to the tree line the evening before, but had seen a man sitting on the porch, so he left and came back when he saw us leave for church. Dad questioned the neighbors about who had called it in, and also who had stopped over, but no one ever admitted to either the call or the visit. My parents chalked it all up as a very lucky coincidence, and we went on with our lives, but with better locks on the doors and instructions to me to be more wary of strangers. Some years later, we were at an elderly relative's home for a visit. She and my mom were flipping through an old photo album and reminiscing about the family when I looked over and very excitedly told my mom that the man in the photo was the same man who visited back when we were robbed. My mom went white as a sheet. She explained that it couldn't possibly have been the same man because that was her great-uncle Hap, who had passed when she was 9 years old. That picture was the last picture taken of him. In the picture, you could see our family home with two dogs laying on the porch. On the back of the picture, in faded pencil, were the words, Hap and Essie with Roscoe and Sarah at Grandma's. Huh. Wow. That's powerful. I think that's really cool. That was by Woods Colt. Very cool. Like I said, if you're going to have a haunting, you might as well have one that helps out. That's an awesome story. I like that. That's very powerful. Those kind of stories, they just, I don't know, they really warm you up inside because it's nice to know that we're not just doing this all alone, that there's probably a watchful eye over us. And maybe once in a while they step in to make things okay. And that could have been really, really ugly in a hurry. So that's pretty awesome. Number 78, Invisible Hand. My eerie story, who was that again? Oh, that was Woods Colt. Yep. My eerie story involves a nightstand. My nightstand has 3 drawers, and the handles are floppy in a way that you'd have to use your whole hand to open the drawer. Mind you, they're made of heavy metal. And one day when I was around 9 years old, I woke up at around 7 a.m., long before my parents, and I decided to read to get some homework out of the way. Wow, that's a good kid. And all of a sudden, the middle handle of the nightstand went from down to up, to the point where the whole underside was showing. Since it's kind of old furniture, I heard the creak of it, and it sounded as if someone grabbed it with force and just flipped it and left it there. My 2 hands were holding the book, so I was completely freaked out. I might add that I only have a ceiling fan, but the air it gives is definitely not strong enough to flip a handle from down to up. For that, you require an actual human being. I left it like that for the next few days, and it hasn't happened again since almost 10 years later. Wow. That was by Guys123, or Gaius. I don't know how you say that, but close enough. but it's weird, those one-off events like that. What is it for? Is it just a, hey, I'm here. Just want you to know I'm hanging out here watching you read a book or do your homework, but I'm here. Maybe it's just that simple. I don't know. If you are in the chat and you want to get my attention for anything, just as a reminder, please put at Paranormal Portal so I get the big, orange box or yellow box around it, because that'll help me flag it. Unless there's a bunch of emojis, like Ethan put like 15 emojis in a row, and that looks like somebody's trying to get my attention. Instead, it's just, I guess, drooly faces. All right, there you go. This is number 79, A Visitor in the Dark. I live with my parents and my room is on the other side of the house. And one night at 3 a.m., I randomly woke up. Just as a side note, 3 a.m. In terms of paranormal activity, 3 a.m. is considered the hot spot. That's like the time of night when if there's going to be ghostly activity, it's really going to pop off then. A lot of people believe it's midnight, and yeah, midnight's something because it's it's the fulcrum between days, and that's kind of a special thing, I guess. But for some reason, 3 a.m. is the time when investigators, paranormal ghostly investigators, will say 3 a.m. is when it really pops off when they're doing investigations. So, not sure why. Maybe it's a Trinity thing or a mocking of the Trinity thing, or anybody's guess. I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with the moon-sun cycle, and that time is the sweet spot for the magnifying the energy. I don't know. But that's pretty curious. A lot of paranormal stories come up with the time of 3 a.m. It happens all the time. What does that mean? I don't know. But I'm just pointing it out because that's my job. I'm the host. That's what I do. Point things out. All right. I randomly woke up and then I heard someone knock on my door. Well, I thought it was my parents, so I just said, come in, loudly. But nobody came in. I assumed they had felt bad because they woke me, and then I heard another door open and assumed it was just my dad. About 15 or 20 minutes later, both my parents came down the hall talking, opened my door and asked me what was wrong, and I said, nothing. What are you talking about? And then they told me, we just saw you in the hallway. We called out, but you turned and walked away. Creeped out, I said, I've been in this bed the whole time. Is this why you knocked on my door 20 minutes ago? Then they told me, we didn't knock on your door. We combed the house thinking we had a burglar or something, but there was no one there. Also, we have an alarm, and it was still armed, so it seems unlikely that someone just broke in. My dad stayed up for an hour or two and then went back to bed. The dog started barking at something around 6 a.m., but again, there was nothing. Dogs barking at nothing is not unusual, but it was spooky considered what had just happened. We had lived in that house over 15 years without any weird happenings or ghost stories. My mom, after the fact, decided that it was her brother Chuck, who passed a few years back. I look a bit like him, apparently, so she thinks his ghost pranked us or something. That was by Ringtail Rush. Yeah, it could be. I think that there are just vagrant spirits. They'll just wander through. They don't necessarily have to be in one place. Like some spirits, they really seem to be anchored to a place. And maybe that's the emotional connection. Maybe that's the unfinished business kind of thing where they can't quite leave because they're still processing events that happened in a given place. Or they're working through that or, whatever. But, other spirits just seem to wander. Or be able to wander. And maybe those are the non-human ones. Maybe those are the ones that were never human beings and they can just do what they want because to us they exist in a spiritual fashion. But, in their reality, maybe it's different. But perhaps they can wander and they can appear however they want. And maybe that's what's going on in these situations. There's so many stories that people never have any activity, ever. And then suddenly they'll have a night where something just goes sideways or a day or whatever, or a period of days. And then, boom, it's quiet again after that. It's like something stopped through, just got a rise out of the people for a while and then carried on. I don't know, maybe there's something to it. Paranormal Portal. I believe 3 a.m. is active because that's maybe when the sun is on the opposite side of the earth in winter. So less sun rays allows it to thrive easier, just my scientific theory. Yeah, it's as good a theory as any, brother. I mean, it's very possible. I often wonder about that. What is going on at the 3 a.m. mark? What makes that the time that really magnifies the energy and the activity? And I don't have any answers. I just think it's incredibly peculiar, you know? So, strange thoughts anyway. Venus is shining brightly in the sky. Yeah, I'll bet it is. Yeah, I think that's great. I love when you guys have ideas like that. Please share them, because I don't pretend to know, and I'm no expert on any of this stuff, but I'm just an enthusiast. I'm just a person with a lot of questions and a microphone. So that's that's what the Paranormal Portal is. I can't claim to be here to teach anything. I just share what I think, and maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Take it or leave it, but I don't know. But anyway, this is Sleeping in Fear, number 80. This sounds really crazy, and I don't care if you don't believe me, but here are the facts. For years, I'd go through periods where, when I was trying to fall asleep, I'd see a bunch of faces when I closed my eyes. They were really angry faces, very angry and menacing, and they'd come towards me and kind of fade off to the sides, 2 rows, one on each side. Sometimes it was just angry eyes, human, animal, cartoon, all very angry. It took a long time to realize that when I saw these faces, it meant I was about to dream about a place I actually really liked. The place only existed in my dreams, but it was like an alternative universe for me. I had memories of that place like anyone does about their childhood, but it didn't exist. I don't want to expand on the dream place because I'm trying to get back there again, and I don't want to ruin my chances. I told a few people once about this place, specific things that I remember, and then a few nights later, the angry faces were back, and I was all excited about going to my favorite place again. And when I got there, various people who lived there, people I knew and liked, suddenly had angry faces, like the ones that usually come before I go to this place. They shot me 3 times in 3 different rooms. Twice I woke up after getting shot. I didn't wake up in real life, but I woke up in my dream. I thought, wow, I'm glad I made it through that. Looked over, saw another old friend, which was now an angry face, and get shot again. I didn't wake up the 3rd time. This shooting happened about 7 to 8 years ago. I've really missed the place, and I keep trying to force myself to remember the angry faces, thinking if I can fall asleep visualizing them, they might show up. Nothing ever worked until 2 years ago, when I had an experience I'll never forget. I was dreaming I was in some kind of street market, either an old-timey one or one located in a country that wasn't all that modern. A woman was leaning over a well in the middle of the town square, and she was wearing a large brim purple hat. She looked right at me, an angry face, like the old days. I was both freaked out and kind of relieved, like somehow I wasn't forgotten by that place and those people I used to visit. Well, that was 2 years ago. I now work in a hotel in the heart of downtown Chicago. I see a lot of people on the street. I sold my car last winter and take public transportation, so I see more people now than I used to when I just drive by in my car. I'm in crowds fairly often, and 6 months ago, I saw that woman. I wasn't dreaming. I checked. The woman from the well was there, and she had her angry face on. In the last 6 months or so, I've seen 10 to 12 more people who were glaring at me the way those faces used to. Then the people disappear into the crowd when I try to follow them. I'm kind of scared, but I'm also kind of thrilled. I know I sound crazy, but these people might be following me around in real life now. I still can't get back to that place I used to go, though. That's by Creepy Dream Throwaway. Yeah, that's very curious. Brent has gone super awesome mode. What does that mean, Ethan? I've gone super awesome mode? Oh, okay. So that's interesting. Android says, Paranormal Portal, I've also heard that religious explanation that's because Jesus was crucified at 3 p.m. according to Mark chapter 25. So it's the opposite time of that. Yeah, maybe. Maybe that. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't see, for me, it's not. Here's the problem that I run into personally is that I don't believe it's either, light or dark or good or bad or, that real dichotomy of things. I don't think that, the opposite of something necessarily means that it's a negative opposite. You know what I mean? I don't. I think that there's a lot of people need dualism for some reason, and dualism, I think, is maybe a different understanding or interpretation of the nature of things. I don't necessarily subscribe to dualism in that regard, and I don't even know if I'm using the right terms. But I think that there's not just white and black. There's all kinds of shades in the middle, and none are good, bad, or otherwise. They're just different interpretations. Of course, there's good and bad people. There's good and bad things that happen, but I don't like to subscribe to the dualism theory because, just because something is inverted of the other doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Like for instance, okay, let's say, speaking in terms of Christianity, the cross the crucifix or the cross has always been a symbol of the suffering of Christ and the sacrifice that was made for all people. And of course, those people that are into the counterculture are trying to embrace the evil or the dark or the satanic version of things, invert the cross. But in reality, the inverted cross is the cross of Peter. He was crucified as well, and he just didn't want to be crucified in the same way. He didn't think he was worthy of being crucified in the same manner as the Christ. So they allowed him to be crucified upside down. So the upside down cross is actually a holy symbol as well by, biblical reference. So I don't know. I'm not opposed to the possibility of that. I just have to speak to that because I think that it's too easy to be, this, that, or this or that, my side, that side. Everything's dualism. And I think dualism is an old, it's kind of a old manner of thinking. That's just my 2 cents. And for whatever it's worth, at least for me, I don't know. I don't mean to be preachy, so forgive me if that's preachy. That's not my intent. But I'm just, I don't know. It's so easy for people to say, well, I'm going to do opposite, and that means I'm against it. Well, you're doing opposite because you made a choice, and for whatever reasons, and maybe you are against it, but it doesn't mean that you're now dark and opposed to the light or whatever. I don't know. Just throwing it out there, food for thought. Again, I'm sorry if that seems preachy. I really don't like to preach. But yeah, I think you're right, Maggie. I think that's true. I agree that opposite doesn't always mean evil. Yeah, very cool. Thanks, Android. I'm glad okay. I'm just looking at the chat. Paranormal Portal. I don't know, Android. Why? Oh, because you forgot the L. That's why it's Paranormal Portal. It's Paranormal Portal. Sorry. I was like, why isn't that highlighted? But now I see. Okay. All right. So let's continue. I was going to say about these faces too. I think that there's something, there's something more to that story. And I'm taking it on the pretense that it's actually real. It's not just a fabrication somebody came up with. And it very well could be. But if it's a real phenomenon that somebody really did experience and decided to submit, I think that perhaps, I think that we exist in a multiverse of realities. And I think that sometimes maybe when we go to sleep, and this is just me, again, throwing my ideas out there, like, have you ever started falling asleep, or you're falling asleep and suddenly you start dreaming, but you're still kind of there. You're still kind of the conscious awake you is still there in that moment. And you'll be in this conversation suddenly that's in this place. And in the place, for an example, I dreamt once that I was just gone to sleep and I started hearing sounds. And the next thing I knew, I was in this place that I knew was my home. And I was talking to somebody that I knew was a great friend. And I was calling him by name and talking. And then suddenly, like the conscious part of me was like, wait a minute, where the hell is that? And who is these people? And it was kind of a dream. But I wonder if sometimes we aren't experiencing some other version of ourselves in a different kind of situation or reality. I don't know. I think that dreams are often dismissed as the musings of an unconscious mind, that they just happen, and they're just what our brain does while it rests and repairs and sleeps or whatever. But I think I've often thought maybe dreams are glimpses of something. And sometimes they may seem really bizarre, like, all of the circumstances are weird. Like I've often told the story on this show. When I was little, I dreamed that Frankenstein and Dracula were in my kitchen making toast. Do I think that was happening on some other realm of reality? Probably not, but maybe that was my young mind trying to interpret things that it couldn't. And what I pulled back into my waking memory was this weird representation of symbols, whereas something, very different might have been going on. Maybe I had terrible parents in my dream, and and I imagined them as Dracula and Frankenstein. I don't know. At any rate, I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. But I think dreams can be profound. I've experienced many, many profound dreams in my life. Some prophetic, some very spiritual, meeting with people that had passed. And they were very, very real experiences, very, very powerful spiritual experiences for me. So I can't just dismiss dreams as just the musings of an unconscious mind or a mind that's processing the whimsy of the day. I just think that's too cheap. And granted, a lot of times dreams don't make sense, but that's maybe because we're glimpsing a reality that for us doesn't make sense. So maybe the representations of that we bring back are so bizarre because we can't comprehend it as if it was our native world. I don't know. Just some thoughts. Again, throwing it out there. You be the judge, as always. Wherever you go, well, there you are. You're absolutely right, Chris. I agree. Profound for sure. Thanks, Stone. I appreciate that. So, let's continue on here. 81's the unwelcome guest. Well, unwelcome house guest. Okay, we're doing good for time. Sorry if I'm preachy. I enjoy talking about ideas with you guys, too. I think that for me, that's my passion with this the most. I love hearing what people have experienced. I love reading things that people have experienced and gone through or think. But I love discussing these ideas even more. It's just always been my way. I like pondering philosophy. I like pondering thoughts and possibility and just seeing where it goes. I think that's for me a great thing. So I'm sorry if that's not what you guys tuned in for, but it's just a little bit of me, I guess. All right, number 81, an unwelcome house guest. My mom would from time to time mention that she'd heard someone coming up the stairs at night when everyone was in bed. She would say that she could hear the footsteps on the stairs, which stopped when they reached the top. Neither my dad, younger brother, nor I ever heard anything like this. My younger sister did, and experienced other things. We used to share a room, and she would tell me that she would also feel a presence sitting on her bed, tugging her duvet and sometimes scrabbling about underneath her bed. The family dog would also react, staring at a fixed spot, hackles up and growling, and she told me that this mostly happened when I was away from the house. However, one particular incident occurred when I was at home. I'd done some studying and had gone to bed. My sister told me that she came into our room at bedtime, only to be stopped dead in her tracks. She found me sitting upright, staring directly at her, with a huge rictus grin on my face. She described the grin as being demonic, as though my face was being stretched. Ooh. She also said my name twice, Apparently, I didn't respond or move. I just kept staring at her. She closed the door quickly before reopening it and switching on the bedroom light to find that I was sleeping normally. My sister was terrified and got no sleep, and she kept looking over at my bed for the whole night. I have no memory of this at all, and was only told about it some years later. That's really creepy. That's something definitely screwing with those people. That was by Corduroy Puffin. God, we were just talking about fashion. That was like when you look back at old pictures. Don and I were mentioning this yesterday on the show, and I couldn't help but think. I was thinking, God, I used to love corduroys. I remember being so happy and excited when I got a new pair of corduroys. And now they're just like, what the hell was I thinking? Rust-colored corduroy pants? Are you serious? I wore stuff like that, folks. That's the That's the scary version. Is that I thought I thought it looked cool. And so did my mom, who dressed me. Thanks, Mom. It was the early 80s, I think, maybe late 70s, early 80s. Oh, man. It's frightening, the things that we wore. I can at least use the excuse that I was young and had no choice, but I remember thinking they were cool pants. I'm kind of glad that died. Although I got to say, corduroys were always kind of warm and nice during the winter. They were a warm pant, I think. Maybe. I don't know. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, number 82, the haunted house. I grew up in a haunted house, so I have many of these stories. This house was 3 stories tall and 5,000 square feet. Oof, that's a lot of room. It was moderately new. It was built in the 60s, located in the middle of the woods. Creepy enough without the haunted part. One time we were all watching TV downstairs in the basement, basically just the ground floor, level floor at the bottom of the house. Yeah, it's usually where the first floor is at the bottom. The kitchen is right above the TV room, and it's nearly 10 p.m., and all of a sudden, we hear what sounds like a man with work boots on stomping through the kitchen. We pause the movie and all look at each other like, oh no, not this again. My grandpa tells us to stay downstairs, and he goes upstairs and returns about 5 minutes later. All the doors are locked. All the lights are off. There's no one in the house. We all just stare at each other, completely freaked out, and resume watching the movie. And when I was little, I used to see black figures walking around the upstairs section of the house. And we had this balcony thing that overlooked the library/conversation room. There's a conversation room in some houses. Wow. That balcony connected to my grandparents' room, and their room connected to a bathroom. The bathroom connected to the sewing room. The sewing room connected to the staircase landing. And that connected to the other side of the balcony, so it was all a big loop. I feel like we just did that body song. The head's connected to the shoulder bone. That floor in itself was extremely haunted. When my sister and I used the bathroom, we went together in case something had happened. One time, we were in my grandparents' bathroom, and she was going to the bathroom. I was standing next to the sink, and I saw something move out of the corner of my eye. In my grandparents' bedroom doorway, I looked and saw a huge black figure walking around the room. I started screaming, "Black thing, black thing!" And my sister and I jumped up and ran through the sewing room towards the stairs. As we were running, we heard the black thing running through the bedroom and across the balcony. We could hear it running behind us as we went down the stairs. And then it stopped once we reached the kitchen. Crazy. That's absolutely terrifying. Wow. Poor kids. I was gonna say maybe it's just residual, but if it actually chased them when it's running, no, that's different. That's quite different. All right, just looking at the chat, make sure I'm not listening. 2 days ago in a dream state. This is from Stone Hobbit. 2 days ago in a dream state, and felt it was someone trying telepathy, and saw a small square cut out brown cardboard. It had 2 sets of numbers above each other, waiting on the numbers to show up. Wow, I don't know what's going on, but that sounds very interesting. Oh, mullets, Maggie. Yeah, I had a mullet too. I was all about it. Mullets were pretty cool back in the day. I mean, they look stupid now, but they were cool back in the day. I'm just saying. I tried to be as trendy as I could. my corduroys and my mullet. No, I never did a mullet until after I was out of high school. I always had normal cut hair. I never did long hair or anything. But after I got out of high school, I kind of grew it out a little more. I thought it looked cool at the time. Now when you see pictures, like, oh my God, that's just, ugh. Number 83, The Ghostly Connection. I don't think that's a Bruce Lee movie. When my mom was 9 years old, her mother kicked her out of the house for the day and told her to go play. My mom did so, and pretty soon her father joined her, and played with her for a few hours, which was unheard of for him to do since he was a stern, unemotional man. When she got home, she made a chilling discovery. She found out that she had been locked out of the house for the day because her father had succumbed to stomach cancer the night before, and her mother wanted to be alone for the day to make arrangements. Wow. That's really cool. He played with her for a few hours after he passed. That's really wonderful. He was a stern man in life, but I guess he was much more relaxed after. Oh, that's pretty cool. At least she had that memory to take with her. That was by Snowleaf. I've heard a story very, very similar to that before. I don't know if that's the exact same story or not, but it's similar, very, very similar. It's funny because in the doing the show, I've done literally thousands of stories on this show. We've got over 1,000 episodes on YouTube here alone, and that's covering many stories. So I don't know how many thousands of stories we've discussed on this show, but it's a lot of stories. But it's still funny that in that whole bunch of stories that we've read, I can still go, I've heard that before. I'm familiar with this one a little bit. And maybe it's the same story, because oftentimes we find that the same stories are repeated on many different sites. So, but I know we've done that one before. All right, number 84, we saw it plain as day. See how they spelled plain? This is going to be something to do with an airplane, I'm betting. Plain. A few years ago, my wife and I were driving around through the national forest about an hour outside of town, headed to a neighboring town, and we were on a 2-lane main highway coming over a hill, and we both saw a large passenger plane billowing smoke and fire as it descended towards the forest. Ooh. It was so close to us, we could see the people's faces in the windows. Oh, brutal. We both watched stunned as the plane disappeared over the hill next to us, and there were no roads in that direction. So we hurried as quickly as we could to that town that was about 20 miles away, and when we got there, we asked some people if they knew if there were any reports about a plane crash or anyone had seen or heard anything. They looked at us like we were crazy. There was no plane crash, no reported emergencies, nothing. My wife and I spent many hours discussing what each saw in detail. There is no question we both saw the people in the windows. We both saw the flames and the smoke. The plane was about the size of a 737, and we have had a few strange experiences around the national forests, but this was by far the strangest. Well, thank God it didn't actually crash. Thank God it wasn't something that was real. Wow, that's incredible. Hey, Hoggle, good to see you. Lots of hearts. Hearts right back at you. Melted Mind 25 submitted that one. Let me just look. 746. I guess we're about there. I'm going to do one more. This one's kind of a long one, but it's a Guardian Angel one, and I love these, and I'd love to end on a happy note. I mean, that wasn't a plane crash, so it was a happy note. But where did that plane go? Whoa. I just totally flipped the lid off my bottle. Welcome to the portal. No, it was me. It wasn't paranormal. Oh, I got a phone call. Better get to that first, I guess. And this is area code 410. You're on the air.
Hey, Brent and Android Parody. How's it going?
Hey, brother. How you doing? I'm doing good.
Pretty good, man. You jogged my memory again with something else that happened with your talk about the dreams there.
Oh, cool. What do you got?
Well, you know how people talk about lucid dreaming. I had an experience with a lucid dream super long time ago. Only ever had one experience with it that I can recall.
Okay.
When I was much, much, much younger. I don't know even how old I was. It's just a memory I have from being a kid. I could have been 10, I could have been 8, I could have been 14, I have no idea.
Okay.
But I just remember having a dream, being in my backyard, and there was these wolves, like a pack of wolves actually, that were chasing me, and I was just running. I don't know if there was earlier parts of that dream or not, it's just what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I remember running from these wolves, and I was in my backyard, and it was daylight, and I don't know why, but I just stopped and gave up running from them, turned around and kind of just stood there, and as they were running towards me and was like, well, I'm screwed, they're going to get me. And then they kind of jumped on me, and attacked me, and then that's when I woke up. Okay. And I just, it's one of those dreams you wake up sweating from.
Sure.
And you're like, oh, it's terrible, and you're panicked, and I was like, oh, if that ever happens again, I'm just gonna force myself to wake up. They say you're supposed to pinch yourself when you wake yourself up from a dream. And I was a kid, and they always say that figure of speech. So I thought, I'm just gonna do that next time I have a dream like that. And sure enough, like, I don't know how long after that, I don't know if it was the next night or a week later or a month later, I had an exact copy of that same dream. I mean, it was duplicate, and I realized, hey, I've had this happen before. And then that's when I realized, oh, this is a dream. I'm in a dream right now. And I was like, oh, man. And then so I looked down at my arm, saw my arm, pinched it, and I woke up instantly before the wolves had got me.
Oh, very cool. Okay. That's pretty cool.
It's a short little thing, but it was really interesting. I've never been able to do it since then, but it kind of, your speech about the dream there kind of reminded me of having control over that.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I think lucid dreams are really cool when you can, when you realize you're in that state and you can start steering the dream and creating it. And I don't know, getting to my philosophy about it being, possibly a representation of our multiversal existence, if that's a word. But maybe when we go like aware, then we can take that experience and then we just create, and then it can become a conscious playground of sorts. Like I don't know. It's very interesting. I think dreams are absolutely fascinating, and I can't claim to know a whole lot about them, but I think that there's something really profound going on at least some of the times. I think we do have garbage dreams, but I think we also have dreams where we can, and maybe those wolves were representative of something to you, like it was whatever was going on in your life. Maybe it just felt overwhelming and you had to take control of yourself. And maybe that's what that process was for you. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You actually took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, I don't think all dreams mean something, or all dreams are maybe a part of something else, but right. I think that some dreams definitely could be. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. I think sometimes we get glimpses into other realities. Sometimes we get lessons we need to learn that we can't figure out in our daily life, whether by us or by, some other, spiritual energy or power or whatever. And then, then there's just the stupid ones that just make no sense, but I think there's something very important in our experience with dreams, but I don't pretend to know what that is for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also remember probably around the same time as a kid and a teenager, speaking of glimpses, every once in a while, I don't know how often it happened, but it definitely happened several times. It hasn't happened in a long time, and I have a theory behind that, but I used to get these, like, I guess what you would call deja vu glimpses. I would just be going about my normal day, and I would just, like, look at something totally insignificant. It could be, like, a scratch on a wall that had a weird shape to it, or a mark on a wall that had a weird shape to it. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, I've seen that before. I've been here before, and it's a place I've never been before, never seen this place before. It could just be like an office building I had an appointment at or something, that I'd never been there before. And I would just have these occurrences, and it would just be something so insignificant every time. It would never be like I'd recognize a person or anything like that.
Right.
But you know how when you get, you see, say you're driving on the road and you see a car that you had seen before because it had an unusual paint job to it, so it sticks out, and you have that recognition in your mind. Oh, I saw that. I've seen that car yesterday. It's kind of like that moment of recognition where you're like, oh, I've seen this before, I've been here before, or I've saw that exact thing before. And I used to have that happen all the time when I was younger, and it hasn't happened in a super long time. And I think it's because of a prescription I take, actually, that is supposed to suppress the central nervous system, and I think that could be why, and also maybe why I've never had a lucid dream again since then. So I think that also, I think medications that we take sometimes can also influence that as well.
Right. No, I think you're right. I think that definitely would skew our ability to perceive what's going on and make it all goofy. But yeah, I think that, you want to hear a cool story?
Yeah, sure.
This is, swear to God, it's true. I wouldn't share any of my own stories with any kind of embellishment, but this is a real experience, a real phenomena that I experienced. And not only did I experience it, but two of my children so far have also experienced the same thing. So when I was a teenager,
Wow.
I would be having these dreams, and they would happen once in a while, and they were extraordinarily real and very much lucid. But in my dreams, I was always confronted, in these dreams, I should say, I was always confronted by this guy. He was older, he had white hair, and he wore like a cowboy hat, a black cowboy hat and a black trench coat. And he was coming for me in every one of these dreams that I had throughout my teen years. And no matter what I did, I was like, it was lucid enough that I could say, okay, I'm going to, be able to like climb walls like Spider-Man, and I could jump and I could do, anything I could imagine. And he would just laugh. He would just laugh at me and say, "You can't get away from me. You can't get away.
Oh, wow.
I will always be able to get you. You cannot get away from me." And I was just terrified. I wake up just panting and sweating. And these dreams went on for years. Well, suddenly they just stopped. And to this day, I don't know what that was. Now, fast forward many years, my oldest son, Sheldon, comes to me and he said, "Dad, I'm having these weird dreams." I said, "Well, what's going on?" And he went on to explain the same man to a T, and that he's coming to get him and he can't get away from him. Nothing he does can work. He just can't get away from this man. And I was blown away. And I was like, oh my God. And I went on to tell him, I've had these same dreams when I was a teenager, and I don't know what it means. I don't know what it is. Now, fast forward again to my middle son, Oliver. He came to me one day, and he said, "Dad, I'm having these dreams." I said, "Let me stop you there. Is it a man in a black hat and a black coat chasing you and you can't get away?" And his eyes grew as big as saucers. He's like, "Yes." And I said, "Yeah, I know what you mean." So 3 of myself and 2 of my children so far have had this. And now, with the little one, I don't know if he's going to have this as well or what it means. To this day, I don't know what it means. But what are the odds? It wasn't something I ever shared, like verbally. I told my mom.
Wow. Did all 3 of those? Did all 3 of you have it in the same house? Do you think?
No, many different houses. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, I had, of course, lived at my parents' house when I was having these dreams, and when Sheldon had them, he was living across the street. Now, between him and my middle son, Oliver, they both had them in the same house, as far as I know. But I think, in both of those situations, I was divorced from Sheldon's mom and never together with Oliver's mom. But I don't know if they ever had them at their mom's houses as well. But it's just one of those situations that's like, wow, how is that possible? I'd never told them about these dreams at all. They just happened. And the fact that we would all 3 of us have that same experience. And now I'm thinking, is my youngest going to have this too? Is this something that somehow follows the line? I don't know. Strange.
Yeah, that's fascinating. There's stories of spirits following a family lineage, so that does sound very interesting.
Yeah, I wonder. It makes me wonder what it means or what it ever meant. And I don't know that it ever meant anything, but maybe it's some kind of psychic representation or spiritual representation in our lives of, things we can't change or whatever. I don't know. It's just, it's one of those that's had me scratching my head for years. And since we're talking about dreams, I thought I'd put it out there, but true story. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't pretend to have any clue, but it really gives me shudders, even to remember it, what it felt like. It's just horrid.
That's fascinating. Thanks for sharing it. I think it's awesome to hear that kind of experience, because I've never really heard one quite like that before.
Yeah, well, I know that John Zaffis was doing some research into the Hat Man, involving dreams as well, and I don't know if he ever put out anything about it, but I've always meant to look or to reach out to him and say, what did you ever find of that, or at least to share my experience with him as well. And John Zaffis is, of course, he was the haunted collector on the TV show, and he's the nephew of Ed and Lorraine Warren. So, maybe.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Maybe he would have some insights, but yeah, I just thought that was kind of wild. So.
Yeah, that is wild. Man, that's awesome, though.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing. I appreciate it, and thanks for letting me share, man. I enjoy sharing all this stuff.
Yeah, thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Anytime you remember, just call in.
All right, thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, good night, man.
All right, good night. Bye.
Yeah, it's wild. It just brought it back now, thinking about these dreams and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that. So yeah, Brent, thanks for sharing that one. Freaky as hell. Yeah, thanks, Baz. I appreciate that. It's one of those things. I just want to know, I guess, what it means. What does that mean? And I have shared it on the show a long time ago. It was years ago when the studio used to be upstairs, and I haven't mentioned it since. But once we're talking about all the dreams, it's like, oh yeah, oh, have I got a dream story for you? and what it means, again, I have no idea. But thanks for listening anyway, guys. All of you. Thanks for sharing in that experience. And I've been to the land of the Fae in dreams. Oh, that's cool. That's really powerful. I don't, I've always been very, very interested in the whole Fae and the legends and the stories and people's encounters with them to this day. I think that stuff is really interesting because I think there's a lot of things going on in our reality that we just don't know. And the Fae is certainly one of those that it persists. The stories persist to this day. The experiences are still happening to people. Again, I don't know. All right, so that's been our journey into the portal as far as the stories go. But how'd you guys like to do a little bit of comments from the cheap seats? God, I haven't pulled this out forever. All right, folks, we're going to do the comments from the cheap seats. Are you ready? Here we go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the comments from the cheap seats. This is the one place that I have to showcase people when they stop by the YouTube page and spreading their douchery, that I can have my time with them. So I figure if they're going to take the time to leave me a crappy comment, then I'm going to at least do what I can to make them famous for it. So now, full disclosure, I'm not opposed to criticism. I mean, I think it's great. I think it's great when people have criticism or constructive criticism. Like, hey, you might want to try this or you might want to try that. But what I don't think is nice is when people are so in love with their own opinion and their own crappy opinion that they think everyone should hear it. There's lots of ways to say things you don't like and to suggest things that you might like better. But this isn't one of them. Today's comment comes from Alaska Music, who decided, and it was left on an old video too, so but I don't think it matters because we still use the same music on the show today as we did back then. That music has to go. Most irritating music I've ever heard, and I'm guessing it's yours. Not so subtle self-promotion. Stick to the podcasts, mate. What a dick. So I responded to him, and I didn't want to post all the comments up here, but I went on to explain to him that I never actually used the music as a method of self-promotion. I used it because when I started doing YouTube streams, I had nightmares with copyright claims. I tried to use music that I found that I was liked. I used popular music. I used unpopular music, but I kept getting tagged up, YouTube claims. So I'm like, okay, well, I know there's some music I can use because I wrote it. I performed it. I recorded it. It's mine. And so that's what brought me to using the music you hear on the shows now. And so he wrote back to my response. I was like, well, I was trying to be civil, but he came back even more stupid than before. And he says, and I quote, I'm reading verbatim his, "Come on, man. If that's the case, why don't you just edit out the videos so there isn't a ridiculously long gap between the active parts? You clearly done that so everyone can hear your music. And it's that particular sort of self-indulgent music as well, written by blokes in their 40s who really believe they could have made it. It's terrible, man. Music's all right, but the singing and lyrics could be torture music, and you're the one with the podcast, man. You clearly think your thoughts and feelings are so interesting that you warrant your own show. Won't see me doing a podcast, mate. I don't think I'm that in demand." Well, I'd have to second that opinion. I don't think he's that in demand either. But I did respond to that as well, and told him, since he's so intent on being a douche, then, he should know that the reason that I don't edit out the breaks on any of the videos is because you guys, those of you that are out there watching and chatting right now, has always been such a big part of the show, and it's always been such a big part of our community. You guys have created a community around the show. So if I would go back and edit out those breaks, YouTube doesn't allow me to edit those without losing the chat replay. So I've opted not to do that, figuring that if people want to just fast forward, they can click forward and get through the break sequence with very little problem on their own part. But anyway, so I'm guessing you wrote those years ago, Brent. Yeah, I did. I wrote those songs. I think Feline was a song I wrote probably in like 2009, I think was when I wrote Feline, the theme song that you hear on the show. And maybe even a little bit earlier than that. I don't know. It's around then, but and the only one that I wrote recently was Tribes, and that's the one that plays on the Bigfoot break when you're on the shows. The other ones, Emotional Buffet was probably like 2010, and that's the one that plays during the ghost sequences, the Ouija board sequences on there. Tribes. No, the other one I wrote was the one that I play during the UFO segment. That one's new, as well as Tribes is newer, but that's still several years ago. So I don't know. But anyway, I thought I'd share it with you guys because I think, again, if someone's going to be a dick, they can just share the spotlight. So there you have it, folks. That's comments from the cheap seats. Hope you enjoy it. All right, here we go. All right. We made it back. Yeah, it's not. It was one of those songs I wrote when I was just crazy about this lady, and I just wrote a song called Feline because it was like, oh, I'm just weak. I'm weak. It was about being head over heels and for someone and feeling like there was no control. It was just a music for me has always been just a way I process emotions. It's always been a therapy to me in many ways. Much like doing the show. This show is like therapy to me too. It's just nice to get together and have people come in that want to hear my thoughts. You guys give me attention, so I eat it up. So yeah, you're right, Paz. Paz says, yes, certainly doesn't sound like something you'd write in your 40s. Yeah, it's not. It was something I wrote when I was in my 30s. So anyway, I think I was about 30 something at the time, but it was a long time ago. Anyway, now it brings up our last segment of the show, which is Trail Cam Terrors. All right. Oh, Elaine. Can't call him a dick. They have a use. Can't find use for him. Amen, Elaine. You let them roll. Let them rip. That's why I like those comments from the cheap seats. It immortalizes their comment on the frame, and it also gives you guys a chance to unload on them as well. Because I'm telling you, I can only come up with so many zingers, and then I need your help. So thanks for piping in. I appreciate that. You crack me up. All right, tonight's Trail Cam Terrors is coming from another website. I got to get this pulled over, though, because it's actually coming from Country 106.5 WYRK. Posted this on their website, and it's a potential ghost captured on a Ring doorbell. And I'll put it on the screen now so you guys can see it. Hold on. Let me get back here. Here we go. All right, so here it is. This is the video, possible ghost caught on a Ring camera. And credit to Dave Fields, TSM 2020. And it published it January 27th, 2020 from the Dave Fields YouTube channel. So let's see if it works. What the hell's going on? Is it doing anything? I wish I could blow it up. Is it doing anything? Maybe not. Where is it? Oh, here it is. I guess this is it. Let's do this. Wow, that's a mini video. What the hell's up with that? Oh, are you serious? It's just this? Blink? Maybe. I don't know. That's pretty nondescript. I don't know what's causing that to happen, but it does. It would seem bizarre to be a ghost caught on Ring camera. Let's see if there's more to this. It says front door. It is odd, though. What is causing that? I mean, so it looks like a lens flare. It really does. But I don't... If without a daytime shot of this, it's hard to tell what would be in this range anyway. But it's kind of curious. What made that flash happen? Is there something happening above the frame, maybe? That's not in the Ring doorbell camera? I don't know. It's just those two little dots right there. There's one that looks like an inversion or reflection of another one, but what is the first one? I don't know. So the stronger of the two lights is on the bottom, so there's some source down here that created a light. And because the camera has a lens, it's got a curve to it. That's where you get the ghost image on top at the same time. But something is causing that flash to happen. I don't know, is this the neighbor's house over here? Could it be something from their house? I don't know. It's hard to know what we're looking at because it's all in the dark. Let's go back to the main picture here. Yeah, it's this. What is it? Let's read what it says. I guess that's the quickest thing. It says most things nowadays are caught on camera, and it looks like two ghosts were caught on camera on a Ring video in Amherst over the weekend. Check out this video feed from my Ring video camera that shows two objects appear out of the blue, and then just as quickly they appear, they disappear. Well, I think it's one object, and I think it's because of the lens that you get a double. The images are from around 3:50 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and the two objects show up at 3:55 a.m. There was no other movement captured on the Ring camera at least 1 hour before and after these two objects appeared. It's only a short video clip because the Ring camera was not activated by any movement within the viewing area. In a close-up video of the video, it looks like the bottom object could resemble a human form. I guess that is possible. But I think this is just an inversion of this because they both have this wispy thing on it. I don't know. It's just really sequenced or in perfect timing with each other. So this wouldn't be the first time a ghost has been spotted in Western New York. Western New York has several well-known haunted spots, including Lilydale Assembly in Chautauqua County and the Rolling Hills Asylum in Genesee County. Same spots in Western New York. Some other spots in Western New York are reported to be haunted, but are the Buffalo Center Terminal, the Van Horn Mansion, and the Riviera Theater in Tonawanda. Huh. Well, there you have it, folks. I don't know. It's not a breathtaking video. It could very well be something paranormal. I just don't know what. And, of course, the duration of the actual event is so short. It's just a quick blink, and then it's gone. Nothing before or after, just a quick blink. Could there be something up above causing that light anomaly? I don't know. It's hard to say. But anyway, that is the best I could do for tonight's Trail Cam Terrors. I hope you enjoyed it all the same. All right, folks. That's what I got for you tonight. We did a little bit overtime. I hope you're okay with that. I can't imagine that you're not. But thank you all for coming in and being a part of the journey tonight. As always, it is a distinct pleasure to have you guys here and to be involved in the shows. So thank you very much for that, and I appreciate your time. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And Don should be back with me tomorrow night, but if he's not, I'll be here anyway. Either way, you get 2 full hours tomorrow night and Saturday night, so I hope you'll join us. So love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody. Peace.